excited. Are you excited? Because I'm pretty darn excited about what's going on with the Synod. Not necessarily because of any profoundly beautiful things that have been said, although a lot of beautiful things have been said, or even because we now know how the final document's going to be voted upon and maybe have sort of a preview of what's going to be in that, although that's really exciting too. I'm excited because what's happening in Rome, what's happening with the Synod on young people, is a model of what can happen in the life of the church. You know, a lot of people, when this Synod got started, the big question that kept kind of coming up in conversations and discussions, and even kind of the impetus for Ave Explores, this initiative to unpack and explore the Synod on young people, was why does this Synod matter? Why are we doing this? Why did Pope Francis summon the bishops of the world to talk about this topic? Or why were hundreds of thousands of euros spent for this pre-Synod gathering that happened in March? And who cares about a document that's going to result in what? Some sort of pastoral plan around the world? I don't know. Why does this matter? Why should I pay attention? Why should I care? I've probably answered that question more times than I care to mention or count in this short little video. But I'll tell you right now why the Synod on young people matter. And it's a very simple reason. It's not rocket science. It's not a secret. The Synod on young people matters because young people matter. Because young people, their energy, their vitality, their visions, their dreams, their hopes, what they have to contribute to the church needs that. The church yearns for those young people to not only be involved and invested, but to have a voice. They matter. And so a conversation about them matters. But here's why I'm even more excited about the Synod on young people. Not just because this conversation about young people matters, but because the conversation about young people includes young people. Now this is where it gets exciting. See, we've said that there are young people in the room, right? We've said that there are Synod auditors that are present, contributing interventions and are taking part in the small group discussions and are doing interviews all throughout the week, kind of giving us this insider scope of what's happening in the Synod Hall. But see, here's the really cool thing. The bishops of the world, many of them have said how actually spending time with these young people has been life-giving for them, has been fun for them. A bishop having fun, who would have thought? That they have been able to hear and to learn and to discover the reality that young people face every single day. That young millennials or young married couples or young professionals or recently graduated college students or high school students, what they are confronting in this relativistic culture. How they are struggling to remain strong in their faith in a world that tells them that their bank account and their popularity matters far more than their sanctity and their holiness. See, the bishops are talking about young people, but they're not just talking about them, they're talking with them. And that right there gives us a model of how ministry can look. Why does the Synod matter? Why do we care what comes out in this document? Why are we paying attention every single day to these press conferences? Why are we following the hashtag diligently? Why are we unpacking different quotes from the small group discussions? Why do we care how the final document is voted upon? Because what's happening in Rome can happen in my diocese, can happen in your parish, can happen in your family. Bringing everybody to the table, multiple generations, and asking important questions, reading important texts, and engaging in significant conversation to hear two different perspectives, to learn from the other, to engage in that dialogue. You know, we've learned just in the past week of a couple of different interventions that happened from the Synod floor, and one that particularly touched and moved me and challenged me was from our very own Archbishop Gomez, who's the leader of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. I've had the pleasure of working with Archbishop Gomez a few different times at a few different events over in LA. And I can attest to this man's holiness and genuineness. He's just a kind, grandfatherly soul. And his intervention, it read like a homily. It read like something that he would say to a group of young people. And in fact, I recognized it. Because he said something in that intervention that I've heard him say before. I heard him say it back in August at the City of Saints conference in LA. He talked about, in his intervention, and he said it then in Los Angeles back in August, he talked about how we have to know something. We have to know we're called to be saints. We have to know that we're called to holiness. And that adults need to be really good models and witnesses of this to young people, and how young people need to pay attention and to listen, but to also model and witness back. How beautiful, how profound, and what a testament to what the Synod is actually doing. This engagement of dialogue, this discussion. Well, you can go read all of the small group summaries are being published week by week, and you can read in those summaries how the bishops are taking seriously what young people are saying in those small groups, how they're moved deeply by the interventions that they're hearing from the Synod floor, how they're challenged to open up their minds, not to change church teaching, but to figure out a way to articulate it in a more dynamic and engaging way. My challenge and my question to you is, do young people matter in your life? I'd be willing to bet that yes, they do. And if those young people matter, then what are you doing to model sanctity to them, to challenge them to holiness in their own lives? And then how are you listening to them? How are you paying attention to them? Are you asking them really good questions? Are you giving really good answers when they ask you a question? Are you willing to kind of step outside of yourself in some sense and not just talk about young people or do ministry to young people, but to walk with them, to journey with them? Pope Francis did something really profound this past week. He climbed the stairs of the Synod Hall, which I know that sounds kind of weird, so let me explain. See, when Pope Francis comes in, the Synod Hall is kind of set up like a stadium. And so you have to get to the back, you have to climb up the stairs. Well, Pope Francis, when he comes in, he's shaking hands and he's getting ready and he's getting his bag situated and he's unpacking his papers. And apparently, like out of nowhere, he just started climbing the stairs of the Synod Hall. And as he's climbing the stairs of the Synod Hall, everybody's kind of like looking around, like, is he going to shake hands with a bishop? Did he notice a cardinal? Like, what's going on? And instead, he just kept going. And he walked all the way to the top to where the young adults are seated and some of the press corps members were kind of milling around. And he just started shaking hands. Started asking them questions, started giving them words of encouragement, asked them to continue contributing and to continue making noise and to be honest with what they thought. He climbed the stairs to meet the young people. I think the Synod is a snapshot of how we as church are climbing the stairs to meet young people. How we're going outside of ourselves to engage in this dialogue, to be challenged to sanctity, to be pushed to the margins of our understanding of youth and young adult ministry, and to try to figure out new ways to engage in that dialogue and to challenge young people to holiness. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's exciting to watch. It's challenging to watch. And it gives me great hope, because the Synod matters because young people matter. And the work that we do with them and challenging them to holiness, it matters the absolute most.